Okay, great. So I think we should get started now. It's already 3 p.m. here in Pakistan, and so we should now just get started. So hi everyone. Thank you for joining the live webinar of Abacus Wired. For those who do not know what Abacus Wired is, it's basically an initiative by Abacus Consulting to help flourish the API or digital economy of Pakistan. So basically, the idea is to help enterprises, startups, developers, fintech community participate in the API or the broader digital economy of Pakistan. My name is Shoaib Khan. I run the financial services and digital transformation solutions practice for Abacus Consulting. We also have Nigel Walters of Apigee, Google Cloud Platform, and Umar Salimullah, head of open banking at JS Bank. Hi, Nigel. Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience here in Pakistan? It's a lovely weather in Lahore, and I'm sure in Karachi as well.
Hi, Shoaib. Yes, thank you. So, hi everyone. My name's Nigel Walters. I'm one of the customer engineers as part of the Apigee team. I'm based in the UK, where it's probably not quite as sunny as it is for you guys out there. So I spend my time speaking to Apigee customers, Apigee prospective customers, about our technology, our platform, our tools, the way we can help, the way that they can get the best from the platform. So really excited to be here and to talk to you guys today.
Awesome. So Umar, would you like to briefly introduce yourself and what you guys have been doing in JS Bank, just briefly, and we're gonna have a detailed session afterwards.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Omar Sarimullah. I'm heading open banking in JS Bank. I also have the additional responsibility ecosystem here in JS. We're working on we're working to launch Pakistan's first truly digital bank. And I use the word truly because there are a few pretenders out there. The wrapper is the processes are not. So we're very excited to partner with Abacus and to be able to have this webinar here just to let people know as to what can be achieved through the magic of APIs. So very excited to be here, Shoaib.
Great. Thank you so much, Nigel. Thank you so much, Umar. So the model is I'm going to start with the presentation, and then I will pass it on to Nigel Walters, and then we will be open for the Q&A for all the viewers we have, and you can ask questions, and we'll be happy to answer to your questions. So let me just move to the presentation mode. Okay, so today we will talk about APIs, the enabler of today's digital economy. So I'm sure most of you must have heard about APIs. It stands for Application Programming Interface. At some point or another, most of you built APIs for your partners or for your internal use. Most of us know APIs as a medium to integrate with different systems, but today it's different. According to Gartner, APIs make digital society and digital business work by connecting people, businesses, and things. So they enable new digital products and business models and create new business channels. So Paolo Malinverno of Gartner has mentioned that we already live in an API economy where CIOs must look beyond APIs as technology and instead build their companies' business models, digital strategies, and ecosystem on them. So I just wanted to, sort of show you this picture of 60 seconds in online world. Let's have a look at this mind-boggling snapshot depicting 60-minute story of digital world. So today, Google is processing 3.8 million search requests in an hour. And if we look at Twitter stats, so over 350,000 tweets are being sent every hour. So this is the economy where we live in, and it is also evident that digital natives highly rely on APIs for innovation. So if we talk about Twitter, it processes over 13 billion transactions a day, whereas Google processes around 5 billion transactions a day through its APIs. And today, eBay has over 7 billion worth of items on their portal through APIs. So this is the world we live in today. And if we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, so I mean, the industrial revolutions have always dominated and changed the world in a big way. The first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. The second used electric power to create mass production. The third used electronics and IT to automate production. And when we talk about fourth industrial revolution, it is disrupting almost every industry in every country. Fourth industrial revolution is broadly characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. And in 4IR, the emerging technology breakthrough include robotics, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, quantum computing, biotechnology, the Internet of Things, 3D printing, and autonomous vehicles. So while we're talking about fourth industrial revolution, what is next? The next big thing is even bigger than the fire or electricity revolution. Yes, it is artificial intelligence. And the fifth industrial revolution is not around the corner anymore. It has arrived. Just imagine, IDG estimates that 40% of all technology spending will go toward digital transformation, with enterprises spending more than $2 trillion in 2019. So one of the representatives from IDC mentioned that ID leaders who have not fundamentally changed their organizations to focus on digital will find that their business colleagues will turn to outsourcing to handle development needs. Indeed, a Gartner survey shows that 95% of the CIOs they've interviewed, by the way, they interviewed 3,160 CIOs. These CIOs expect that their jobs to change or be remixed due to digitalization. So that's the impact of digitalization on the businesses. So I mean, if we look at these, stats, in 2001, we just had one tech company, Microsoft, in top 5 most valuable companies by market cap. Today, tech companies have taken over the stock markets, and in 2017, the top 5 were valued at $3.3 trillion, and all 5 companies are the tech companies today. So, the last 10 years have been about building a world that is mobile first. In the next 10 years, we will shift to a world that is AI first. So according to Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO of Google. So AI is probably the most important thing humanity has ever worked on. I think of it as something more profound than electricity or fire, according to the CEO of Google. During the past couple of months, I've met with many CEOs and CXOs of different industries, be it leading banks, telecom companies, retail companies. But one thing that I learned out of my conversation with them was that everyone feels the pressure to be digital. It's the hot topic in all the boardrooms. It's a big pressure on the CIOs and CXOs to fast track the pace of digital innovation and stay relevant in the fourth or the fifth industrial revolution as well. So, what is digital? So it's like a question that is being asked more often, and a lot of people have different definitions of digital. So, and many people are confused on from where to start their digital transformation journey. So, does digital mean a website, a mobile app, or a cloud service? And I'm sure most of you would be thinking that digital is probably APIs because today we're talking about API management. No, digital is not only APIs. Gartner says that APIs are the basis of every digital strategy, and you should put APIs at the center of your digital business platform. But API digital is not just API. So digital means the digitization of products and services, digitization of marketing and distribution, digitization of ecosystems, processes, and supply chain. But there is one thing that is in the center, and that is the API management, which is the centerpiece for this whole transformation. So, so the key to success is a platform that connects consumer and content creator. Here is the digital platform approach in streaming and shared economy. Imagine yourself as an online shop or a hotel or a bank, telecom company, or or a retailer, right? So you guys are the producers or the value creators, and you are exposing your digital assets to the digital platforms in a shared economy. And then there are consumers who are consuming the services. That's, I mean, instead of the inside out approach, you're focusing on inside out approach. So it is the key to participate in the ecosystem in the digital economy or the API economy. So now I'll briefly talk about Apigee. Apigee basically is a Silicon Valley based company which has been helping businesses to accelerate the pace of digital innovation. So it has been rated number one and as thought leader in the API management space by independent research companies like Gartner and Forrester. Apigee has the highest number of Apigee implementations in the world, that is 600 plus, and it's increasing at a significant pace year on year. Right now, if you talk about Apigee's customer, 25% of Fortune 100 customers are using Apigee, 60% of the top global brands, and 70% of the top telecom companies, including the region's largest banks and even the small banks, are using Apigee to accelerate the pace of their digital innovation. So Apigee was acquired by Google in November 2016, and the total transaction size was more than $500 million. So now Apigee is a wholly owned subsidiary of Google, and it works under the Google Cloud Platform umbrella. So we definitely talked about fourth industrial revolution. We talked about AI being the next big thing, a biggest revolution than the fire and electricity. So I just wanted to talk about how we as Abacus Consulting relevant to this change. So our digital transformation practice is focused on providing the complete value chain on the digital transformation side. So we it's all about digitizing the processes with the help of robotics, So, one of our offerings is robotic process automation. Then, we talk about breaking the silos. And here we're talking about AI-based integration platform as a service. Then intelligent API management comes in to connect enterprises with the outer world. And then the last piece is the self-learning and adaptive bots, right? That will be, so instead of human beings communicating with your customers and with your partners, so it will be robots that will be, automatically learn from the behavior and the past experiences and the context, and will respond back to the queries. So this is the digital transformation practice of Abacus. So Abacus Consulting is the leading consulting technology and outsourcing firm working since 1987, employing over 2,500 people, and have presence in both emerging and developed countries. We've got offices in UAE, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UK, and Pakistan. So I just want to end my presentation by the Darwin Theory, which is it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. So now we need to be responsive to that change. We need to align ourselves with fourth industrial revolution and the fifth industrial revolution to stay relevant in the game. So if we want to increase our products, we want to come up with the innovative offerings, we need to respond to the disruption. So we need to be adaptable to the change that is coming to us. So now with this ending note, I would like to take Nigel Walters um, on. And Nigel, let me just make, okay, so can you just share your slide deck and maybe take it from there?
Yeah, sure. So I'm showing this up. Can you see that now?
Yep,
Okay,
we can.
perfect. Cool. Well, thanks for that intro, Shoaib. So we at Apigee, we are an API management platform. What we believe, certainly now it's 2018, is that every business is building a digital business platform to either create or perhaps to join in an ecosystem. And actually, from the talk that Shoaib's just been through, hopefully you can see the sort of power and pervasiveness of this as an approach. So what I'm going to talk to today is I'm going to talk about the usage of APIs, how to think about APIs in terms of their place in a digital ecosystem. I'm going to talk about the taxonomy and categories of APIs. And I'm going to talk about the sort of success patterns with a digital program. So to start off with, let's just think about, let's say that tomorrow I need to travel from London, where I'm based, to Riyadh. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to interact with a number of different companies. So I'm going to have to, find the flights that I need to get on. I'm going to need to pay for those flights. I'm going to need to check into that flight, maybe check that it's on time. I'm going to need to travel to the airport. When I land, I'm going to need to travel from the airport. And I'm going to need a way to navigate myself, to my final destination. Every single one of these interactions with these different companies is now powered by APIs. So whether that's search, book, and pay APIs to identify the flight, all the way through to the kind of the classic digital ecosystem example of Uber, using their APIs to search, find myself a lift, and then also to pay for that lift to my final destination. So what we see these days is that there is this massive digital ecosystem. So pretty much every interaction that people are having is now in some way, shape, or form powered digitally. So there are some obvious examples of this. So for example, if I use a mobile app in order to connect to my bank to find out my bank balance, or perhaps to initiate a transfer or a payment, it's pretty obvious that is now a digital interaction. But in fact, almost every interaction that we're having. So if you go to a pharmacy to pick up a prescription, if you go to have your car serviced, all of these things are increasingly now being, those experiences are being enhanced by digital apps that may be working behind the scenes. So even if we think that we might be the least digital person in the world, or if we think of, someone we might know who might not even have a mobile phone, are they still participating in a digital ecosystem? Well, yes, they are, because the digital ecosystem is now everywhere. The way we like to talk about this, and the primary metaphor that we use from Apigee, is to talk about the digital value chain. So the digital value chain is the engine of transformation. It's the central concept that you need to grasp to understand the power of the digital ecosystem. So if we look on the far left, we see the customer, the end user. This could be a business partner. It could be even an employee. It might even, in fact, be a system. It might not be a human that's at the left end of this digital value chain. But it's really just somebody who wants to consume or a digital service. On the far right-hand side, we see the kind of back-end system. So for every digital transaction that I'm making, there needs to be some back-end systems, underlying systems of record that are providing that data and those services that I want to use. And really, the purpose of an API management platform is to take all the steps in this chain and reduce the friction to strengthen those links and to make it that much easier to provide the back-end services through to the consuming entities who want to make use of those services. So whether that's by making it easier to expose those back-ends as APIs, whether it's making it easier for the developers who are going to build the apps and experiences with those APIs to bind those APIs, to read the documentation, to understand how to use them, or whether it's even making it easier for them, the customers, to adopt and to find and use those apps that are being built. So one of the key things about the digital approach is allowing you to adapt faster. So now in 2018, speed is king. You need to be able to pivot very quickly. You need to be able to deliver products and services at pace. And the API first approach is one way that you can enable this. So you may hear phrases such as two-speed IT, and you may or may not like that phrase, but there is a reality in terms of the fact that our back-end systems that hold the data and services that we want to expose generally going to move at a fairly slow pace. So talking, release cycles of, measured in months, and they're very carefully controlled, and for good reason, because these are systems that are, running and powering the core business. So given that context, well, how are we going to deal with the fact that our consumers are going to expect their experiences to be, continually updated? So, I'm sure we all have apps on our phones, and it's every week or couple of weeks we're getting new versions with new features being released. That is now the experience of the consumer. So the way that the digital value chain and the digital API first approach allows us to achieve that is that we can actually iterate very, very fast at the left-hand side in terms of those app experiences. We can iterate lightningly quickly in terms of the provision and exposure of our APIs, and that can then sort of decouple the gap in speed that we have between those front-end systems of exposure and systems of engagement, and the back-end systems of record. And an API management platform is a suite of technologies that's going to enable you to do this. So let's now move on to talk a little bit about the ways that we can think about the APIs that exist. So the first way we can think about this is in terms of what those APIs are doing. And broadly speaking, we can categorize these APIs into three different categories. So we have services APIs. So these may be APIs that are providing access to, say, a database or a logging system. You could think perhaps sort of SOA++. So really this is, kind of integration-y stuff, low-level technical back-end stuff, but now being powered by APIs. Next category we can think about are interactions-based APIs. So these are APIs that maybe are there to service particular experiences and devices. So, for example, APIs specifically there to enable smart TVs to use them, to enable wearable devices to use them, to enable mobile devices to use them. So APIs that are there to provide an interaction capability between some type of device back-end systems. And then the final category of APIs we can think about is APIs that are themselves products. So these are, packageable, typically saleable and monetizable units that can be put out there. So classic example of this would be the Google Maps API. So that's there. I mean, as individual consumers, that's just something there that's freely available for us to use. As corporate clients, that's services that Google offers and packages up and sells on. So we can think about APIs that are themselves an actual product, a thing that we're selling that we wish to put out into a marketplace. The next way we can think about our APIs is actually in terms of the audience for those APIs. So we may have a bunch of APIs that are really very much internally focused. So these are APIs probably that we're using to facilitate internal integrations, probably that are only going to be exposed to internal developers, so people who are part of our own organization. The next level of APIs would be then partner APIs. So these are APIs that we're using to facilitate things like business-to-business communications, to enable our partners to interact and do business with us. And actually, the pain of partner onboarding using sort of non-digital, sort of more traditional integration approaches is very often one of the key business drivers that can be pointed at in terms of a quick win of showing the power of moving to an API first approach. Next level above that is industry ecosystems. So we have things like open banking that's specifying the APIs around the banking industry. We have things like FHIR in the healthcare industry. So we're seeing this sort of growth of these industry level APIs and then the ecosystems that are going to support them. Then the final category is the kind of almost the gold standard, if you like, which is then our public ecosystem. So this is when we have our APIs, we're putting them out into the public domain, and we have third parties, individual developers, other people coming along using our APIs, rolling them into their own apps and offerings, and actually driving our business forward, themselves. And then finally, the third way we can think about our APIs is in terms of the impact that they will have. So going from bottom to top, we have simple kind of service APIs, just providing a capability. Above that, we have this notion of APIs that are actually a product. Above that, though, we have this idea of APIs as a channel. So much the same way you'll have your mobile and web channels, maybe a telephone channels, whatever they may be, you can actually think of APIs as an additional channel for your business. Then finally, at the very top, we have then the API play as an ecosystem. So actually putting our APIs out there, providing this ecosystem for people to come along, make use of our APIs, and actually drive the business, our business forward without us having to do anything else. So, having set that scene, now let's talk about a specific example. So we at Apigee really like to talk about this one. So this is a customer of ours. They've been a long-term customer, Walgreens, a large pharmaceutical company in the US. The reason we like to talk about Walgreens is because they're a 120-year-old business, which in the US terms is very, very old. And they were, I should say, very much a traditional bricks and mortar, non-digital company. So Walgreens started their API journey by looking around their stores and noticing that they'd invested in all of these photo printing booths. But now that increasingly people were moving to using digital cameras, that actually, their usage was dropping off. So they had this expensive asset that they bought, and really it was just sitting there gathering dust. So they had an idea, and their idea was, well, why don't we provide an API so that people can use that, and they can come along and they can actually, print photos into our store. So they did this, and they created their own app, and it wasn't particularly successful because, if I wanted to print a photo, am I really gonna want to install a Walgreens app? So they spoke to Apigee, and we started engaging with them. And what we were able to do is enable their APIs to then get embedded into various third-party apps. So, for example, you could go to Instagram, and actually there'll be an option there, print at my Walgreens store, and suddenly that started driving adoption. So from this little project that kicked off, they were able to get it just in a small way as part of a little ecosystem, but that immediately provided an engine to drive them forward. From this, they then expanded from that project into a program. In that program, they started looking at additional things they could do. So exposing APIs around their rewards system, their prescriptions, their appointment scheduling. And then finally, we get to where they are today. So where they have this full, true digital ecosystem. So they have literally hundreds of API partners. So these are people who are embedding the Walgreens APIs into their apps and experiences. So Walgreens has this API ecosystem. They put that out into the public domain via a developer portal. So a way of publishing and publicizing their APIs. And then all these third parties have come along, have picked up those APIs, rolled them in. And as a result, we've seen this massive transformation of Walgreens. So, a huge increase in terms of, traffic and footfall into the store, a whole bunch of awards that they've been won in terms of, their sort of digital initiatives. And actually one really interesting statistic, which is that they actually found that the customers they had who were coming into the store, using those sort of mobile and app experiences, we're actually spending 6 times more with Walgreens than those customers they had who just came into the store. So this is a real, excellent demonstration of the success that you can achieve and the power of an API ecosystem approach. And with that, I'll hand it back to Shoaib. Hi, Shoaib, do you want to take control? You're on mute, by the way.
Okay, great. Awesome. So great presentation. I loved it, and the way you explained the first slide, the complete journey where APIs play a role, in different areas throughout the journey. It's pretty impressive. Thank you so much for that perspective. Umar, how are you?
I'm good. I feel
Great.
left out. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. I feel so alone.
Okay, so you're not supposed to have a PowerPoint presentation. So we just wanted to corner with the exciting questions that we've prepared for you. So Nigel, since you are here as well, so few of the questions that we've received from the audience, I'm going to ask those questions. So first question is for Umar Salimullah. That is, what is this open API role that you have? So this is the first time we've heard about this title, Head of Open Banking. What does open mean, and what is this title all about?
So open banking basically means that we as a bank have realized that there is no power in trying to do everything yourself. There is only so much that any organization can do. So what we need to do now in this day and age is to do partnerships, is to do collaborations. This is the only way to move forward. This is the only way to expand. So the way to do this is to have an open API platform. First of all, to have an API based organization and make it available to the world. So my role here is very simple. My role here is to ensure that there are as many APIs as possible available to the world. So we've already launched our developer portal about a couple of months ago. It's at developer.jsbl.com, and
Mm-hmm.
we're hosting 13 APIs, and they're quite powerful APIs. We're not talking about something like ATM locations or weather or exchange rates. We're talking about APIs which allow our partners, it could be a fintech company, it could be a very large organization, or it could be just a simple developer sitting somewhere in middle of Pakistan, working on an idea, working on an app or some sort of other process improvement, and they can consume these APIs. So anything from opening a JS Bank wallet, and by the way, we're the only bank in Pakistan currently offering this instant wallet in which you can have a biometrically verified wallet opened up in less than 10 seconds. It's a level 1 wallet, which allows you to do 8 worth of transactions in a day. So we're the only bank in Pakistan that allows sitting in Islamabad, Lahore, China, for that matter, to start incorporating a JS Bank wallet into their app or their platform. In addition to that, we have APIs for utility bill payments and top ups and so again, as I said, my role here is to make sure that these APIs are available. They are consumed by as many developers, as many companies, as many fintechs as possible, be it in Pakistan or abroad, and to make sure that JS Bank is available to as many users or customers as possible.
Great. So the second question I've received from somebody named Numan, and he's asking, does anyone have to physically meet you or sign contracts with you or call you up to consume your APIs?
So excellent question, Noman. So when we launched this, obviously, so the short answer is no. Other than the contractual part, obviously, before you can launch it for the customers or before you do launch, we have to go through an approval process that includes legal and other matters. But in terms of consuming these APIs, in terms of signing up on this platform, in terms of accessing our sandbox environment, anonymized customer data available on it, you can log in today, start playing around, understand exactly how they work. The documentation is quite extensive. We have codes available for each API in 5 different languages, so which basically covers all the modern sort of development language. So no, you don't have to meet me. It's an interesting experiment here in Pakistan because generally people want to meet you. It's a very strange. So they get offended when I tell them you don't have to meet me. It's like I'm available, but a lot of people take offense at that when I say that knowing is not required. But yes, go ahead, register yourself as a developer, start consuming those APIs, and when your product is ready, you're happy with it, you have created delightful customer experiences on your platform, then you can apply for an approval to JS Bank and go through that process.
Great. The next question is from Munsif Hayat. And probably Nigel, you can also answer to this question. If I want to have payment module in my app that is Cream and Uber, what are the best options for me in Pakistan? So maybe Umar, you can probably take this question.
Though you cut out just a little bit.
Yeah, so basically the question is if I want to have a payment module in my app that is either Cream or Uber, so what are the best options for me in Pakistan? So looks like somebody has built up an app and they want to consume your payment APIs. That's what I've understood from the question. So you can probably take it from that perspective.
Yeah, the absolute best option anywhere in the world is a JS Bank wallet.
Okay.
There is no question about that.
Okay. And
So,
can you
as I
just
said,
also
the wallet opening API.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, which bank allows you to have a wallet integrated into your platform via an SDK that is available on an open API platform? No one in Pakistan, no bank in Pakistan allows you to do that. Our SDK, wallet opening SDK, is available on developer.jsbl.com with all the documentation. You can incorporate it right now. It should not take you, if you have talented developers, it should not take you more than a couple of hours. Test it in the sandbox environment. We have given sandbox credentials there. And then, as I said, when you feel confident that this is ready for submission, and I have created something different, something unique, and a delightful customer experience, then you can submit it. So the answer to that is that this API for the wallet opening and start accessing millions of Pakistani consumers.
Okay. So the next question is from Sohail Server. And Nigel, it's probably for you, and Umar, you can also chip in. What are the critical success factors and KPIs for successful implementation of API strategy?
Okay, yeah, that's a fantastic question. Well, I mean, the key thing to think about when we think about APIs is that they are not solving a technology problem. They are solving a business problem. So for an API program to be successful, then that really is measured in terms of business impact. So that's where you need to start your thinking. For every business, it is different as to what are then those key metrics that you really are going to want to measure. One of the most obvious, though, is that of adoption. So APIs are nothing if they're not consumed. So rather than focusing on, say, how many APIs have I created, what's probably a better measure that you should be thinking about is the adoption of those APIs. I'm not just then talking about measuring, say, API traffic volumes and saying, okay, our traffic has increased. This is a measure of success. But it's also, how many partners am I engaging? How many developers are out there that are actually using my APIs? Because that then really is giving you a bit more of a feel for, how much power that API approach is bringing you. But I say fundamentally, because APIs are, it's a business driver, it should be driven by the business, and it's down to it's aligning. The key is actually to align your API program to those business KPIs.
Great, thank you so much. Umar, what is the criteria when you selected Apigee and Google? So in fact, it is seen more like a partnership between Google, JS Bank, and Abacus Consulting. So why did you choose Google Cloud Platform, Apigee product, and Abacus Consulting while designing your API strategy?
Sure. The world-class platform. It has the most API deployments, API program deployments in the world. And then obviously it comes backed by the power of Google and their cloud. So the scalability, the robustness, battle tested setup of Apigee, it was almost close to a no-brainer. Obviously, we went through a long process, that, but an evaluation process, but they were the clear winner. And in terms of partnering with you, Shoaib, and Abacus, I mean, the experience, we've long time, but this time that we've I think, and the depth of going into the people is great, because Faricom deployment the in Kenya. I think that right, where's
Yeah,
okay,
it's
never
in
mind.
Kenya. Yeah.
Kenya, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, you guys are also battle hardened. You guys have done the deployments in Pakistan as well as abroad. So again, this was also a no-brainer, and it's been a fantastic experience for us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Highly
Thank you for
recommend
the
it.
kind words. Thank you, Umar. Thank you. So kind of you. So the next question is for Nigel Walters. How Apigee is using Google's capabilities into the Apigee platform, and how Apigee is using artificial intelligence or machine learning tools into the platform for the future.
Cool. Yes, thank you. So, as you'd expect, as once we became part of Google, there was a general um, adoption process that we started in terms of leveraging some of the Google platform capabilities as part of the Apigee product. So we're already seeing that now with bringing on capabilities around BigQuery to enable us to handle even greater data volumes in terms of analytics data to deliver those insights to our customers. And that process is continuing. I should point that there is no plans to stop supporting Apigee being deployed in other modes and models. So we provide something we call the on-premises version of Apigee, which is really a customer managed flavor that can be installed and operated. And that will continue. So Apigee will continue to be independent in that respect from Google Cloud Platform. Looking to the future, we're really excited about some of the machine learning stuff that being part of Google now makes available to us. So, Apigee, we already have a product called Apigee Sense. This today is already doing intelligent bot detection. So it is analyzing traffic patterns, in fact, actually analyzing global API traffic patterns, and looking for suspicious activity and enabling our customers to identify traffic that looks suspicious that may be bot generated, and then also enabling them to take action against that traffic, whether to flag it to go into a honeypot, block it, or perhaps in some cases just to let it through. We do have customers who actually expect and even want some level of bot traffic coming through. As we move into the future, the capability and sophistication of that are going to be enhanced in making use of the machine learning capabilities. We also have a product in I think early alpha at the moment called Sonar, which is using an intelligent approach to API monitoring. So using those types of ML tools and technologies to track patterns, identify anomalies, and generate alerts.
Yeah. So, Umar, can we also talk about your experience with JS Apni League? I'm hearing a lot about the success of this initiative, and you have literally changed the landscape of Pakistan's banking industry. So, from the API's perspective, first we wanted to understand how did you use Apigee platform and APIs to launch this initiative, and how did you gain the success that we've just talked about in a very short stint of time?
Yes, yeah. I mean, this back not long ago, because we were discussing our vision and where we want to be. So obviously, launch Pakistan is not an easy proposition, and this digital bank is for the masses. We want to cater to the vast majority of Pakistanis who do not have access to banking or are underbanked. So we realized that there was only one thing that unites us Pakistanis, and that's cricket. So no matter if you're 12 years old, or if you're 28, or if you're 102, you love cricket. in Pakistan, and realized that PSL is something that even people who don't. So just for the start of the PSL, we decided that this is a project that we need to do. And in a very short period of time, we have developed the app. It was actually done by a third party, and a few of them, and most of them said no, possible for us to do this in 32 days. They said that yes, we could probably make the game, but we cannot have banking transactions built into this app. And our vision from day one was to gamify banking. It was not, it was not just to launch the cricket app. It was to have transactions built into this gaming app, and to gamify banking. So once we found a willing partner, we started this project. And believe me, but the during those 32 days, only 3 days were spent, three working days were spent on the banking, on integrating the banking transactions into this app. The rest of that time on doing the UI, UX, and the algorithms for the game. So even this company that we shocked that it was so easy for them to consume these APIs available on our open API portal. They literally had they didn't have to talk to our tech team at all, and they incorporated the wallet opening SDK. They incorporated balanced inquiry. They incorporated utility bill payments, mobile top-ups, and purchases. And the bonus was that if you do transactions, banking transaction, a top-up transaction, or a utility bill payment through the Apni Cricket League app, you will get booster points in the game. The magic of APIs right there, because in 32 days we had this whole banking app. It was a gaming app, yes, but it had literally 90% of what you find in mobile banking apps in Pakistan app.
Yeah.
So this
Great.
is where we saw the value of Apigee.
Okay, so the next question is from Munib Beg, and the question is, how can a bank ensure security of such services that you are offering to the large community of developers and fintechs? Is it inbuilt feature of Apigee, or you've taken some additional measures to secure this?
So yes, of course, secure, very secure platform. Here, multiple deployments in both financial and non-financial areas. But obviously, we as a bank we're a prudent organization. We don't take things especially security lightly. So we have implemented very robust security mechanisms that allows us to sleep well at night.
Great. So Nigel, would you like to briefly talk about how this platform is secure? Because organizations like banks and telecoms and retail, they are exposing their digital assets to the developer and fintech and the startup community. And there are some really great genius guys sitting at the other side, probably playing around with your APIs. So from a platform standpoint, how secure is the platform?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk about that. So I did mention Sense, and that would fit on what we'd call the API security angle. So there's two bits to security. So firstly, there's security of the platform itself. Secondly, there's API level security. So in terms of the platform itself, well, yes, so we have numerous banks and fintechs using the platform. The platform itself is certified as PCI DSS compliant. That means it can process credit card data. We also have HIPAA compliance in the US, which means we can process US healthcare data. We have some customers who are so secretive in the US government that I'm not allowed to talk about at all using the platform. So the platform is, very robustly security audited. We have third-party penetration tests, a whole bunch of stuff that goes on behind the scenes there to secure the platform. From the API.
Please.
Yeah, sorry. And then just to round that off, then from the other aspect to think about, it's not just is a platform secure, but it's then are my APIs secure? So using things like Sense, then also by having full support for OAuth and JORT tokens, as well as doing some cool stuff around detection of possible SQL injection attacks and that type of thing. These are all API level capabilities that the platform then brings to enable you to, on top of that platform security, you can then layer this API security.
Great. So, I mean, since we have the audience from retail, from telecom, banking, we've got few folks from central bank who joined this webinar as well. So, in a general term, what would you recommend, Umar, to everybody, irrespective of their industries? How should they adopt API management platform, and how should they roll out the digital transformation journey with the help of APIs?
Yeah, so obviously this all starts with the mindset. The mindset of the organization needs to be an open mindset. It needs to be a collaborative mindset. And once you have that in place, most of the challenges and most manage. So it's very important to have this piece of the puzzle right, and it needs to be a mindset that is permeated throughout the entire organization. It cannot be a management driven project. So people, the middle managers, the lower managers should also have this mindset which allows them to have this open a mindset and an open collaborative environment in which they can then partner with multiple entities and make sure that everybody wins. This is not a zero sum game. This is what has plagued banking, especially in Pakistan, or actually all over the world, is that initially when fintechs came up, banks thought of them as a threat, and now failed to a certain extent, in which fintechs are partnering, banks are partnering with fintechs to launch, things that customers want. Because at the end of the day, if you are a customer centric organization, or you claim to be, you have to have this open API, open platform, and this partnership led mindset. So the first step would be to do this. Once that is taken care of, the tech is easy. So then you would move on to this you're looking at different partners, different platforms, and then I leave it up to the judgment of much learned, more learned people than me. But the mindset part is critical, and that is organizations failed.
Great, great. Thank you so much. And Nigel, before we wrap up, your comments about how organizations, irrespective of which industry they are in right now, should start their API or digital journey.
Yeah, I would strongly echo the words that Omar just spoken. It needs to, everybody needs to buy into the concept. So the change needs to come both from the top, but everybody needs to be empowered to be part of that change. And then the key thing is to pick the right partner for that journey. So nobody was born being a digital expert. So there are those. There's the likes of our wonderful partners, Abacus, who have that expertise. So pick the right partner to take you on that journey, and listen to that partner, and then they'll get you moving in the right direction.
Great, thank you so much, Umar. Thank you so much, Nigel. So what I've understood from Umar's and Nigel's conversation, and what I've seen in the market, is that we should expose our digital assets to the outer world, as this is the future. If we don't do it, we get disrupted by somebody who's trying to play in an ecosystem. So instead of creating your own ecosystem, it's important that you become part of the ecosystem and part of the shared economy. So thank you so much, Umar. Thank you so much, Nigel. We would have to end this session here, and we will definitely see all the viewers again, for our next Apathon, which would probably be more focused towards APIs and will cover the technical side of the things as well. So really appreciate your time. Have yourself a great evening.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.